the last week, we discussed material requirements planning topic. I will give you a little more time. If you have some doubts, some issues related to that topic, so that we can complete that quickly and move to the new area. Probably the last topic just cover on operations management. So material requirements planning related concepts, the theory part of it, and then of course we discuss some calculations. So technically you can understand things. If you have some doubts, you can ask some questions. Vậy cho sự của tôi lên trí à thôi thì có cái này đi và nói sẽ là cái này ini course outline for this topic I think they have some more weight in cover this topic also. Did you take the past papers? Yes. Down there. You have gone through some past papers, and then right. I was asking whether they have some doubts on the previous topic. The material requirements. No? Then let's move to the new topic. As a total, how many individuals are regular taking part in the business? 20? I think around 20. Almost 20. Because in the customers assessment, there were more names, but still, only 5 groups we had here. Now, with the 20 or so, right. You have come to the end of the semester, but still we have one more topic to go. So let's try to quickly get an idea about this area that you already know. Because inventory management is a very basic topic that we cover in some other subjects also, maybe in auditing, maybe in other costing related activities, costing related topics. But here, we try to understand the importance of inventory management in operations management, managing operations. If you join, we have to start again. So as you see, on inventory management, these are the simple learning outcomes I have set. So at the beginning, we try to identify the need for inventory management in operations, in managing operations. Why inventory management is needed? And then of course we call it objectives of inventory management. So what main objectives you maintain inventories. Then as the main theory part of it, we will identify what are the key concepts related to inventory management, and then inventory related costs and nodes. Right? Based on that, we can talk about different inventory management techniques, methods, approaches that you should be aware of. So there are different inventory management approaches and techniques. We will basically identify the basic, simple ones or the basic ones. In addition to that, I will show you what are the other inventory management related activities that you should have an idea about when we talk about inventory management. Right? So these are the learning outcomes. Try to understand this content within the classroom itself. that you can answer any question coming from this topic in the exam. Definitely there will be a part of a question or a full question coming from this topic also. So if you study today within the classroom, you are getting ready for the final exam also. I hope that is clear. So as same with the other topics also, we have completed so far. We have attended for lectures. We know what we discussed, how we discussed in the classroom. That helps you a lot to understand how to answer the final questions. Right. Coming to this topic, it's not a new one. I mean, especially audit trainees or audit executives coming from the industry must have a clear idea about inventory and inventory management. As I told you earlier, our key idea here is to understand it from operations. Why inventory and inventory management is needed for managing operations, managing production activities, managing services, managing service related activities. Right. What we mean by inventory could be any stock of items, right? Stock of items or stock of resources used in an organization that is purposely maintained for their usage. And more specifically, inventory is a stores of goods and materials, simply known as stocks. That may be of various different types. There can be raw material inventories, raw materials, which are purchased and maintained as stocks until they are used in the production. Then, of course, inside the factory, at different departments, in the production processes, in the production steps, there can be WIP inventories. WIP work in progress. Not only that, we mainly see this type of inventories also. We call it finished goods inventory. Completed products stored. Completed products stored until they are delivered to the market. Finished goods. In addition to that, there can be supplies in the supply chain management context also. Supplies, in addition to different materials, in addition to different components, there can be various other items needed to smoothly manage operations, and then of course supply chain. We call them supplies. Especially in services, more than inventories, we call them supplies. I will give you a little more details and examples as we move forward. So managing such inventories at appropriate places, at appropriate volume is important, and that is what we call inventory management. The purpose or the objective of inventory management is this. Very basic and very simply we can say the objective of inventory management is to maintain a balance, strike a balance between inventory investment and customer service. Strike a balance, maintain a balance between inventory investment and customer service. What we mean by that is now, in relation to any inventory type here, finished goods or raw materials or whatever, to make sure we can deliver the products when customers need, and thereby higher customer service levels are maintained, we need more and more inventories. Can you understand it? When we have adequate inventories, more inventories, we can provide customer better service. So customer service levels are higher. So that organizations would expect to maintain adequate inventories to deliver higher customer service levels. From customer side, we expect more inventories at appropriate places. So that is the requirement of market side. But from the organization side, keeping more inventories, maintaining more inventories means there's a big investment needed. inventory-related expenditure or the costs are higher. Right? So from the organization side, more the inventory levels, higher the inventory investment. We'll discuss in detail. So from the organization side, they want to make sure they have minimum inventory levels that is just adequate to deliver customer needs. Can you understand? From their side, they try to minimize inventory related costs. But from the market side, we need to have adequate inventory. So inventory management is all about taking a balance between these two. So maintaining the right quantities of right items at the right places so that we can deliver the market demand and offer that at a lower cost. Understanding? That is what we call strike a balance between inventory investment and customer service. So in slide number 4, we again quickly identify what are the main inventory types we can identify in operations in the lab. Different types of inventories. One is raw materials inventories that we have already identified. Raw materials. That includes basic materials and components and parts required for production. Say for example, a biscuits factory producing biscuits may require various different raw materials, ingredients, from wheat flour to sugar to other sweeteners to butter to other ingredients, flavors, right? And then of course packaging materials and other things that are required for the production process, we call them raw materials. If you think of a garment factory producing different types of garments, they do have a different raw material requirements like fabric, buttons, zippers, and various other badges and all, and packaging materials. They as raw material inventories. That is one type of inventory. In most of the industries, they have to maintain. So hope you have seen it. When you visit the raw material warehouses, you see different SKUs are maintained. Stock keeping units are maintained for different purposes. So that is one type. In addition to that, the work in progress, as we know, that is in the production process. So we can write down some additional notes and engage in the discussion, think with it, and try to simply understand. So WIP, that is the stocks are at various different workstation departments still being processed. That has not come to an end. WIP inventories. Second type. And then we have finished goods. As we already identified, completed product, processed product will be maintained as inventories until they are delivered to the market. Or probably they have their market side supply chain members, like they are the wholesalers, and prior to that they are distributors. So distributors or agents and wholesalers and retailers. At each of those points, they have to maintain some amount of inventories to smoothly deliver to the customers. If that is in B2C, that is how it happens. B2B market, that is different. In B2C markets, finished good inventories are distributed in different manner. In B2B market, different arrangements. So whatever it is, finished goods inventory is to be maintained at the right quantity, at the right places, right quantities. In addition to these three, there are these supplies inventories. We basically consider them as MRO inventories. MRO. stands for maintenance, repair, and operating inventory, simply known as supplies. So these are the stocks, items of stocks, stocks of items. Now these items may not be consumed during the production process as inputs, but could be as maintenance items. Now, say for example, you have some machinery at a garment factory, you have sewing machines. And in case of breakdowns of certain parts, certain components of machines, they will have to maintain such components inventories as well, machine components, needles and various other items that are required to repair the machine, not to use in the production process, but to repair machines. Oil, grease, as if they have a generator in case of power destruction. Right? So some amount of diesel stove to be used in generator. So likewise, such inventories, we call them MRO inventories. We don't use them in the production, but such inventories are also needed. So these are the four main types of inventories that we see in operating firm. We have to maintain them adequately and appropriate basis. Especially in manufacturing industries. In manufacturing industries, this is very clear, very much needed. In manufacturing industries, whether that is B2B or B2C, managing these type of inventory is very clear and very important. Does that mean inventory management is relevant only in manufacturing industry? How about services? Service industries. So services industries is inventory management important? Okay, yes. You will agree? Is inventory management relevant and important for services industries? Some say no, some say yes. How do you understand it? Not in all the services industries, but there are many industries, services industries, where the inventory management is critical and very important. Managing inventories of various different items could be materials or the raw materials or other supply items, could be various different work in progress at different levels. But unfortunately, not the finished goods, because services, most of the services are not tangible outputs. So, most of the services are not tangible outputs, but when create and deliver services, they need some amount of physical stocks. In that case, we need some. So, can you name me a few industries, service industries? Yeah, I think inventory management is very critical. Now you know the meaning of inventory management, and you know now what are the different inventories. What are the different service industries? You think very important. Then, okay, then. Thinking from operation side, Thinking from operation, I understand the point. Thinking from operation side, that is one. Yeah, of course, to create and deliver, and of course, they are banking services, banking solutions. They need different physical items. They will have made an inventory, but the amount of physical cash, if you think about that, not that, right? So, not the physical cash, well, those are also stocks. In our context, unit management, we have consider cash collection, cash portal as the stocks, right? That's it. So, what are the different things in this? Passbooks, documents and files and templates was separate forms and applications and all. Right? Okay. Well, yeah. So in maybe even the ATM cards and various other physical items required in creating an inventory. I accept it, but then many other industries where well, inventory management is important for that, documentary for the stationery. But there are other industries like what? Hotels, and our restaurants. The inventory management is important. We don't understand it, but yes. In restaurant, what type of inventory is needed? Various different food items, ingredients. Otherwise, they cannot process them into food and about if you go there for restaurant, they say, it's not there. It's other than. So, we understand this is not a place to go, we don't go there. So, inventory management is very important to supply the range of products, range of food items continuously. So that for hotels and then of course restaurants, maintaining adequate inventories. Inventory management is very important. Write it down. So this is one main industry inventory management is very important. Hotels and restaurants. Can you quickly name a few more industries within service industries that inventory management is very important? Construction industries, yeah, of course, because for construction, different materials will be needed. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So such inventory, such material inventory should be maintained adequately, otherwise construction activities will be disturbed. What are the other industries? How about hospitals? Do they need some amount of inventories? Especially pharmaceutical items, drugs, medications and all. Adequate inventories is a must. So we have a lot of issues in that regard, isn't it? So, especially most of the government hospitals, supply shortage, not having the most important, most needed drugs. Inventory management is a problem. So as a result, their healthcare services they cannot deliver to their patients. So that is very important. Identifying what are the different pharmaceutical items or the drugs needed, and then maintain them and then keep ordering the appropriate quantities to smoothly deliver the service. So important. How about in retail businesses like retail shops and retail chains, supermarkets and all? For them, is inventory management relevant anymore? Of course, you'll understand. One of the main responsibilities they are at supermarkets and all, maintaining the range of items, range of SKUs that they offer their customers continuously. Keeping more inventories would be expensive, unnecessary. Isn't so? Keeping more inventories than needed because more and more inventories would result in expiration, product depletion, product outdated, so that they have to identify what is the appropriate level. In case if they don't have the required quantity, customers come to buy, but you don't have the supply. Shelves are empty. That's also possible. So they have to identify what are the appropriate inventory levels and maintain them. Right? So that is just to understand, not only for manufacturing industries, for service industries also, inventory management is very important. So for different industries, different inventory types are relevant. Now, when we explain what we can identify as object main activities of inventory, main role of inventory, we call it functions of inventories. Functions of inventories, that means what are the main benefits of inventories, what are the main roles of inventories, for what purposes we use inventories. In different textbooks that has been explained in different manner. So these are main points they highlight. For what purpose we use inventories? You should be able to describe it in case of exam questions. So yeah, these are the main purposes of inventory management, main reasons for inventory management, main functions, main roles of inventory management. So check whether you can identify some of them very clearly. There can be many other roles than this, many other functions than these, but these are considered as some of the main functions. The first one here. In many textbooks, they say to provide a selection of goods, a range of products, only one, a few items, a selection of goods for anticipated demand. We need to have inventories. We cannot just produce the right quantity and supply to the market, because for the production it takes time. So we won't be able to produce and deliver when the demand comes. So it's a role of inventory. We can forecast the demand when it advances and produce them and maintain them as inventories and supply to the market. Can you understand? Otherwise, what will happen? We'll have to wait till we get orders, take time to produce and deliver. Just in time manufacturing. That may not be appropriate for all the products, especially B2C markets, consumer products, standardized items that have higher demand, stable demand. We have to identify the anticipated demand or the demand forecast, and using inventories we can keep supplying. Right? That is the meaning of the first part. And then of course, to separate manufacturing firm from the changes in the market demand. Now, hope you can understand, the demand for the product, is that stable all the time? No, it's not. Demand can be varied. There can be periods where the demand is increasing. There can be periods where the demand is lower. So accordingly, we cannot change the production rates and all. So by using inventories, especially finished goods inventories, we can separate the manufacturing from the market. And then whatever the market fluctuations can be supplied, can be absorbed using inventory. That is one of the main roles of inventory. Can you understand? Basically, it refers to the finished goods. Finished goods. Now, this is the production firm producing, the firm producing products. Production, so that we have finished goods inventories here, maybe with the manufacturer, or maybe with the distributor, or maybe with the wholesaler, and could be with the reseller. So at different points we can maintain finished goods inventories so that whatever the market fluctuations, from there the production firm is separated. They can plan it and deliver. So that is one main role of inventory of the display. Any questions? That is one of the main roles of finished goods inventories. Right. Coming to the second one. It says another role of inventories, that is to decouple or separate. Decouple, you know the meaning of coupling. So decoupling means separating. Decoupling the various parts of the production process, and thereby maintain independence of operations. Now, in the production process, there are different production steps. Isn't so? These are different production steps. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, likewise. So these are different production steps within the firm. So by maintaining adequate inventories at appropriate places here, what type of inventories are these? These were finished goods, that is to absorb market fluctuations. What type of inventories are these? In the production process, we have WLT inventory, maintained at each production step, and thereby production steps can be operated independently. They don't have to wait till they get the product from the previous step because they have adequate WIP inventories at appropriate place. So we consider that as decouple the production steps, separate the production steps, and thereby maintain production independence. Do you get it? Now, say for an example, we have the typical example that, let's say now, furniture manufacturing. To manufacture furniture, there can be different production steps. Right? There can be different production steps like manufacturing the steel structure. That's one step. Manufacturing rubber grips could be another step. And then manufacturing this riding pad and then the back support, synthetic using synthetic material, that could be another one. So cutting the fabric and cushion and making seat and the back support could be another production process. So like these are different production steps. Hello? I hope you can understand. So coming to the production process, when they maintain different stocks of each component, it's a matter of just assembling them and completing the final step. Otherwise, you have to wait till these components are manufactured. Maybe simple product like chair, right? And it is produced within few days time, few hours time. Think of a complicated product, maybe automobiles, maybe aircrafts. In aircraft manufacturing, there are various different production steps, from small parts to sub-assemblies to final assembly. If you take aircraft engine, that itself is a very and many complicated production process. Then of course one wing and various different parts of the aircraft. So it takes longer time to process. By maintaining such inventory items, work in progress items, we can separate the production process into separate activities, which are not interdependent. That is the role of inventory management within the production process. What are the inventories? That is WIP. That decouple the production steps. And beyond that, we have raw material inventories. Raw material inventories that are maintained at the warehouses here, so that we don't have to depend on the suppliers and supply lead time issues, right? Because we have finished goods, raw material inventory. So we can allow flexibility in production scheduling, whether we produce A one design or another design or another design. Flexibility we can schedule when we have raw material inventories. So that is another main function. Okay. In addition to that, there are other key roles, key functions of inventory management. Check whether you can understand it. What are the rules? To take advantage of quantity discounts, because sometimes when we buy large quantities, we get lower rates, quantity discounts. So that to get them, we can use inventories. And then of course, to order at economic purchase order sizes, and then maintain the additional inventories as in stocks and get the maximum economic benefit. And to provide a safeguard for variation in some raw material delivery time. If there are any lead time delays, they can still supply to the market, still continue the production process, and separate it from the purchasing process. That is another role. And at the same time, we call it the next one, that is to hedge against inflation. That is another role of inventories. You know inflation, right? Meaning of inflation, prices of products continuously increasing. So as a risk mitigation technique, as a hedging, right? So inventories can be used. We call it forward buying. Take an example now. You have an idea. If you are working for a manufacturing firm, usually in an inflationary period like this, declining now, but still, right? They don't offer quotations more than for 1 or 2 weeks time. They say this quotation is valid only for 10 days, 7 days, 10 days, maximum 2 weeks. Why is that? Due to inflation, the cost of materials will be increasing, change in time to time. So that they cannot assure that they can offer the same, they cannot quote the same price after 10 days, 20 days. So how businesses can safeguard their business from such inflationary effects? This is by maintaining inventories. By maintaining inventories, and we call it forward buying. Simple idea is, for your future requirements, you buy now. If the prices of them are increasing, you know for sure that in the next few weeks time, in few months time, their prices will be higher. So you order now for your future requirements, and thereby you try to minimize the impact of inflation on your products, on your production cost. Understand it? And for that, we use inventory. So those are the key roles, key benefits of inventory management that we can identify. Hello, what is forward buy? What do you mean for forward buy? You know why I asked that question, right? Since you are staying here, since you are physically here, you will spend the time with the content so that you don't have to wait, you don't have to spend more time close to the exam to understand everything. එතන ඉන්න අපිට ඒක කරගන්න. අපරාධ ඉඳලා ආයෙ පස්සේ පාඩම් කරේ මොකද දෙන්නේ? දැන් දැන් තියෙන ඥාන විදිහේ ඔබ මේක ආයෙ පාඩම් කරලා ආයෙ අලුත් ඉඳලා කරලා නේද? ඔයගොල්ලෝ හොඳයි. That's it, compared to many other students I meet at SAB in the younger age. Compared to you are very good. And you are very better. Good. But at the same time, you don't get the real benefit of attending the class. Fact. This, 4 by 10 anyway. These are other way. Not only that, we discuss many other complicated issues. If you feel like it's a very simple point, those are simple points. But if you understand the meaning of them, how you can use these points to look at businesses, and then of course identify why in businesses inventory management is needed. Definitely, you will be able to improve your way. That is the purpose of discussing this. But you should be able to understand the points. I am spending my time explaining something, thinking that we will understand something. No, everyone can understand things in the same manner. We have to put some efforts. Even at master's level, you will understand these are the main functions of inventories. But then you can easily understand because we have studied. What is the meaning of decoupling? Separating what? Yes. Separating the production steps one from the other. So inventories, which is work in progress inventories, can be used as steps so that your dependence on the previous production step is removed. So that is what we call the role of decoupling. So that it can be applied anywhere. The example I gave you was aircraft manufacturing. Right? So there can be different components required. So they are manufactured separately. I think that Airbus company or Boeing company, they get orders for aircrafts. You know, complicated product like aircrafts, it takes longer time to process. We can assume at least 60 days or 90 days to deliver. But you know, the operations are such efficient. Within 15 to 20 days, they complete the assembling the aircraft and delivering. 20 days, you can't even imagine. Because aircraft may require various complicated parts, sub-assemblies from engine to wings to various other parts, seats to. How come this delivery? Now, using inventories of components, inventories of sub-assemblies, they do it. That is about inventory management. So we discuss some more points here. Just check whether you can get some idea. If you have some issues, we can discuss. Hello, we are talking about inventory management topic. Any questions? Or any other, sir? Any other concern? We have even these, but there are many other ways that you can understand the benefits of inventory. It shows why inventories are needed. I ask you a simple question like this. There are many benefits of inventories, inventory management and all, which are inventories. So why businesses are reluctant to maintain inventories? What are the issues? Why don't they maintain adequate inventories? Whether that is finished goods, WIP or raw materials, why they are reluctant to maintain high inventory levels? Why is that? That is why. Although there are many benefits, keeping inventories resulting costs, especially what we call holding costs, inventory carrying costs. So that is one main reason they need to reduce inventory levels. We are going to discuss in detail on that and identify what are the different inventory related costs. But prior to that, what are the other reasons in addition to cost? What could be the other reasons why they are reluctant? Think of businesses you know, maybe you have visited for Simons and all. Why they are reluctant to maintain inventory? One reason, of course, cost. Other reasons? Inventory damages. Okay. Okay. Sometimes when you maintain unnecessarily high volume of inventory, that may result in inventory damages. Damage, so that to minimize it, businesses can maintain just the right quantity. Storage related issues. We need more storage, and then finding more space would be difficult. We have limited storage capacities. Right? So, to manage whatever the resources, whatever the storage spaces available, we need only limited volume. To optimize production capacity, of course, yes, rather than producing only one product in large quantity, right, and not focus only on one product, they can optimize whatever their production capacity by keeping inventories of different items. Good, very good. I know those points because that helps you understanding why why businesses cannot maintain may not maintain higher inventory levels as needed. Liquidity issues, in other words, we call it cash flow issues. So from a company point of view, you understand it. So it's a tied up capital. So that I mean, there are liquidity issues, cash flow, working capital problems. Those are main concerns of this. Is that all? Yeah. That's also another important point, right? When we maintain unnecessarily high volumes, so that we won't be able to trends and all. So our product will be out of date, so expired, or sometimes out of fashion, right? If we maintain unnecessarily high volume, So businesses tend to maintain adequate quantities only. That's very good also. Because inventories become out of date, out of fashion, the expired even. So that is why. If you say out of fashion, that relates to out of technology as now. Technologies are getting updated, so that if you stick to one old fashioned item unnecessarily, you will not be able to purchase the latest technological products and all that are more appropriate. That is why businesses should maintain adequate quantities only, more than required. Thank you for those answers. Now coming to slide number 6. Coming to slide number 6. Here we try to identify one main reason for managing just the right quantity. We call it the inventory cost. So when we talk about inventory costs, there are different expenses, different costs that we pay attention. In fact, there are two main inventory related costs that we highlight everywhere. Two. What are those two costs? I mentioned here. One is holding cost. Also known as carrying cost. So that is one main type of it. Order carrying cost. Order holding cost. Sorry, inventory holding cost and inventory carrying cost. And the second main type, we call it ordering cost. In manufacturing cost, manufacturing context, we consider that as setup cost. It's either ordering cost or setup cost. That is the second one. So these are the two main inventory related costs. We need to discuss a little more details. However, in more advanced analysis, we can also consider the other one, that is stock out cost, also known as shortage cost. Some textbooks, in addition to that, back ordering cost and whatever is another type of inventory cost. Stock out cost. So let's quickly identify some examples for each of these categories. This is the main one. This is the main reason why businesses, especially manufacturing, and then of course services that we discussed, that they need to maintain high inventory levels. They are reluctant to maintain inventories higher levels because of holding costs. Higher inventory holding cost. What are the simple examples coming under carrying cost or holding cost? What are the expenses? Can you identify quickly? Higher the inventories, higher the holding costs. What are those expenses? Rent for the warehouse is that, or rent for the space utilized, that will be higher. Warehouse rent will be higher. That's true. Warehouse rent would be higher. That is one main cost driver, cost element coming here. Warehouse space rent. So quickly write it down. And what else? Security related expenses, because you have to look after it, survey. You'll have to recruit some individuals, they have staff and all for security. That's also part of it, but there are many other key expenses. What are those? Electricity. Electricity. There are certain special storage conditions and all, like cool rooms. And then for such more utilities needed, like electricity and other facilities, let's consider such utility costs. Higher the volume, higher the utility cost. Like electricity, maintenance, like what? Inventory related maintenance, what? Okay, product damages, product handling, and then product damages in sense when you have more inventories, higher the possibility for damages, right? Is that? Okay. That could be also a small percentage, true. Damages. Some product with only some products like let's say gasoline products, oil, diesel, petrol and all, white, vaporization, vaporization. So some amount of items anyway vaporize, some percentage. So that's the amount you have to lose. So more the inventory, higher the vaporization. Something. So that percentage is so there is another expenditure. In addition to that, there are many other costs. Carrying, like cash flow, especially we call it inventory tied up capital. This is huge amount. More the inventory, higher the tied up capital, and the interest part of it. Interest part, and that is why businesses reluctant, especially finance managers. Management accountants and all, they highlight, no, we cannot maintain inventory beyond this point because that is an interest cost. That is main cost. So insurance could be another expenditure. Inventory handling cost. Inventory handling related expenditure would be higher. Product depletion or expirations, there will be a percentage of cost. Product depletion or product expirations. So everything together we call it inventory holding cost. Now I will explain it later, but for the time being, since we are not short of time today, this is the last lecture we will have. So after these points, I will expedite. I will just show you the key points. Now, when we have more or let's say this is the cost axis and this is the inventory levels. Inventory level, right? When the inventory levels are low, holding cost low. When the inventory levels are higher, that will proportionately increase. That is what we say. That is why holding cost or carrying cost. Carrying cost, whatever we call it, right? Would be proportionately increasing to the inventory levels. That is one part of it. On the other side, the second one we call it ordering cost or setting up cost, whatever it is. Ordering cost are expenses related to each order. In the same manner, expenditure related to each production change, we call it setup. Now, this is relevant. Ordering cost relevant when we ordering from our suppliers. When we order different items from our suppliers. Setup cost is relevant when we purchase our component internally. You'll have used your factories, production lines, and stop one product, one design, and change it to the other product. We call it changeover or setup. When we change it every time, there will be additional expense. And that is what we call setup cost. Whatever relevant we can consider. Ordering cost or setup cost. So think of ordering cost. What are the examples? Each time you will have to, if it is a new supplier, right, you will have to source suppliers. You will have to negotiate with, identify suppliers, and then of course negotiate with them. Sometimes you will have to develop new contracts, and then place orders, purchase orders. So each purchase would be expensive. Can you understand it? So such sourcing costs, negotiation costs, and ordering related documentation costs would be considered as ordering costs. Sometimes transportation costs can also be included under ordering, because when you order each time, you will have to bear the transportation cost. Is that the complete? Last time also this happened, no? It's not a complete list. Is that the radio? Oh, is that good? Right. So they come under ordering costs. Setup costs include whatever the expenses when you stop producing one type of product and change it to the next product. Machine decoration. It's a recalibration. And recalibrate the machines to start producing the other one. And you're going to lose some amount of production hours when you change it. Lost production is there. That is also an expenditure. Setup cost. In addition to that, there can be additional expenses when we rearrange the production process for the other product, and everything together we call it setup cost. So each time you change it, right, more and more costs. But when you have higher volumes, you can reduce it. When your order levels are very low, your expenditure would be higher. When you order more, one time you order more, so that your per unit order expenditure and all will be declined. That you can understand. How about the last one? We call it stock out cost. How it behaves? What is that? Stock out cost? Usually this is not a real expenditure, real expense. But in our calculations, what amount of inventory is to be made there, we have to consider that one also. In case if we don't have inventory, what are the possible outcomes? Is that expensive? That is what we call stock out costs or shortage costs. That we cannot easily identify, we have to estimate, we have to quantify stock out costs. Like what? Now, we run short of stocks, we get more orders, so we are unable to supply. We consider it as lost sales. We can estimate amount of lost sales due to short supply. That is it. That is one type, lost sales. On the other side, yeah, lost sales. Alternatively, what we can do? we can go for this backward rate. What is that? You know it now. Now, supply storage as of now, you communicate with suppliers, customers, that will be supplied later. You accept the order, deliver later. Customers will have to wait. But still there can be some expenditure like what? Some impacts, financial impacts, like while customers are waiting, they might decide to buy from another company. Not only one time, they will then continuously buy from the company. Due to backwarding, you lost your customer. And then customers will think negatively about your company. That will affect on the company reputation, credibility, and all. If we can quantify, we can consider that as well. That is what we call backwarding cost. Customer wait is also an expenditure because they think negatively about the company. And then of course, sometimes we are going to permanently lose the customer. So, for better calculations, inventory management calculations, in addition to these two advanced calculations, we are supposed to consider this one as well. But it's somewhat difficult to estimate such expenses. So that basically first two types of inventory costs are considered for inventory management. Clear? Let's discuss in detail later. But these are. So what did we discuss so far? Yeah, we identified what we mean by inventories and then the objective of inventory management. And then we identified what are the different inventories. Right? And then of course in detail we understood the functions of inventory, the purpose of inventories. And here we identified inventory. So you will be able to answer some questions, at least one part of the question based on this concept. Say one example. You don't get this question like name inventory cost and give some example, but you can do it. But simply you can answer the question like selecting an organization of your choice. It could be a manufacturing organization or service organization. Explain the importance of inventory management. Why inventory management is important? You can select a company, whatever you like. It could be a manufacturing firm, like biscuits factories, or beer manufacturing, or a grocery product, whatever, okay, chocolates, beverage items, and then explain why inventory management is relevant for that business, especially from operations side. The 3 points, 5 points, that's enough. So the importance of inventory management. However, this is also important for us to right. With that, let's move to the main part of our discussion where we try to identify what are the key responsibilities, key activities of inventory management. There are plenty. There are many different activities that I have divided into 5 activities. So what we have to what we see as inventory management activities. I will explain one at least before the tea break and 2, 3 other activities after the break. Have a small discussion on the paper structure as well, so that I will take 50 minutes. That is available. Now, in slide number 7, you get a list of activities. Not in a particular order. So there is one main activity coming under inventory management. We call it classifying inventories. Classifying inventories and specifying inventory policies for each category. So there is one main activity. Classifying inventories into different categories and then specify inventory policies for each category. And for that, there are different techniques. We will pay attention to at least this technique. We call it ABC. Have you studied it before? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. We will quickly identify. So likewise, there are other classification techniques like 2-bin systems, 3-bin systems. Likewise, uh, and then of course, inventory classification. And the second main activity we are going to pay attention is deciding inventory related activity like inventory determination and control. Identifying what are the inventories to be maintained. We call it SKUs. What SKUs to be maintained and where they should be maintained. Stock points. That is another key inventory system. What SKUs are needed and where they should be maintained. And how they should be controlled. One of the main inventory related activities is deciding inventory management systems. Inventory management systems. Inventory management systems. You know the meaning of management systems. So that's about making all the related decisions like when to order, what should be the size of an order, how to maintain the inventory and monitor, control, verify, and everything. So each inventory category, different rules and different procedures are specified, and that we call inventory management systems. There are few different inventory management systems. We will identify the basics here. That is important for us to have an idea. So, what comes under it? Well, those are the key activities, but in addition to that, there are some more activities in inventory management. This one is all about inventory documentation. Managing inventory documentation. That is also a part of inventory management. As accounting specialized students, and then of course coming from what is the background? You know the importance of keeping accurate, up-to-date inventory documents. So that is also a part of inventory management activities, maintaining accurate inventory records and keep updating them. The old days we had manual documentation procedure, these cards and various other. But now there are advanced techniques, maybe semi-automated or fully automated inventory record update systems. Like we now have these WMS systems, so warehouse management systems, so that that is connected to a main database. Whatever the inventory transactions are, frequently updated to the system, and so that you can gather up-to-date information quickly. So, inventory documentation is also important in inventory management. Unfortunately, we won't be able to discuss in detail. You can ask some questions if it is in more details. In addition to that, even managing warehouse facilities, inventory management related systems, and then of course inventory managing staff like warehouse managers, assistants, and helpers and all. That's also coming under inventory management. It comes under logistics and logistics management too. Anyway, that's also inventory management. Warehouse managers and the staff, and it's also part of inventory management. So the last two I will not discuss in detail, but you can ask some questions quickly now. I will quickly go through the first one, and then of course the third one to give you a little more technical detail. But you can ask any questions about these activities. These are the key activities I will discuss in the class. If you understand it, you can answer the questions like, if you have to answer what are the key inventory management activities, you can write down all 5 with more details. Going beyond that, if you are to solve a calculation on ABC or different inventory management systems, there are Q models, there are P models, some calculations that you do. Okay? Good. Any questions? No questions? What is your responsibility as internal auditors or even as external auditors in relation to inventory of your client? You external auditor or your client, you are an internal auditor, one day as manager. Of course, one thing is inventory verification system, whether the physical stocks are matched with the quantities in reports. So verification. So verification. What else? Evaluation part. Yeah. We have these FIFO method, LIFO method, and various other approaches that going to evaluate the available stocks and so calculating and estimating inventory obsolescence, and then keep the records of that, for transactions from them. How about assisting the firm with more effective inventory control procedures and inventory control procedures for the auditors who host them with the control procedures, right? Standard operating procedures and whatever. So means related to inventory management and all. It's auditors who should propose and for that you should be able to understand in that industry, in that business, what and what inventories are more critical and how to classify them and for different inventory categories, how you should recommend inventory policies and all. You should have a fair understanding. Inventory management is very relevant for business. They are going to discuss any of those that comes from your core subjects. Um, that comes from your core subjects. And then We are going to focus only on the first one and the third one. That we do 15 minutes enough. Let's meet at 2 p.m. And can you one of you witness original efficiency? We can get it money that. එයාට භාගයක් සයින් කරන්න යනවා. ඊට ගාව only for the second half. Popular arrangement. The economics and subjects are කරගෙන යනවා. Just have a look on the remaining slides. We will be covering only two areas. One is classifying inventories. That's within 5 to 7 minutes I will complete that. And the main attention will be on different inventory management systems. Maybe for 20 to 30 minutes we will spend there. And the remaining 10 to 15 minutes on question paper. Right. So we identified there are many inventory management activities. One of them is inventory classification. As you can understand, classifying inventories. And for that, there are different techniques. This is one very basic fundamental technique used for that. We call it ABC calculation or ABC classification. Have you studied it before? For the years? No. Well, this is a very basic technique that we use to classify many different inventory items into three categories. Name, category A, B, and C. Right? And then accordingly specify inventory control techniques, inventory management policies for each category. So these are the three categories: class A, B, and C. So items that are of very high value classified under class A. Into class B, medium value items, and C, low value items. And then accordingly, different inventory management policies will be used. And only to mention, I think, more strict policies on class A items. More strict policies. And little lenient policies on class B items. And for class C, minimum inventory control. Then the works. Now, several examples. At a manufacturing factory, there is finished goods or raw material goods, right? There can be 100 plus items or 500 plus SKUs, different SKUs. So we cannot practically pay attention to all 500 plus items in the equal manner. So that, what we have to do is classify them into some categories. In this case, in three categories A, B, and C, and then manage them with appropriate inventory policies. So more emphasis on category A and how we store them, and coming to inventory verifications and all, more frequent inventory verifications for category A. Sometimes every 2 days time, they are physically counted and then verified because they are high value items. Whereas for class B, maybe for 2 weeks, once in 2 weeks. But for category C, maybe it could be every 3 months time or 4 months, 5 months time. They do only verification. Can you understand it? So it's about inventory purchases, inventory verification, and inventory tighter physical inventory control over A items, more care in forecasting A items, and accordingly B and C. So, right now, when classifying this, this is based on these guidelines. We call it inventory item inventory portfolio analysis. So, in an inventory, there can be many number of items schedules. There can be 150 items plus items in the inventory that you can classify into A, B, and C based on these guidelines. Usually, the A items, what we call, roughly it's around 15% of the total inventory items in terms of units. See, around 15 units of items, 15% of items. And in terms of value, how valuable they are, most valuable. When you calculate the total annual value, around 80% of it comes from these items. So that is one criteria for A items. Whereas for the B class, somewhere around 25 to 30%. 25 to 30% or 35%, right, of items that are of value between 10 to 15% in terms of value coming under B category. Whereas the all remaining items may be around 50 to 55% of very low value, maybe less than 10%, around 5 to 10% coming under class C. Can you understand it? That is how. So these are guidelines for us to identify it. In case if you are given an example like this, assume that these are the stock items. How many of them are there? I think 10 different items are there. And in this column that is given annual volume consumed of each item. Annual volume consumed. And what is this column? That represents the value of an item. Value. That means unit price, unit cost. And if you ask to analyze this inventory portfolio and classify them into 3 categories, and accordingly identify what items comes under what category. How to do that? How to do that? How to do ABC analysis based on the volume, based on the value, right? Yes. Answer is given in the slide. Then for that matter, we'll have to first identify the value of each stock item. So, annual value. How to get that? Value can be calculated, inventory value can be calculated by multiplying the volume into unit cost. Right. So for each inventory item, we can calculate the annual value, annual dollar value. Understanding? So that is how we should do it. So the next slide shows you the answer. You should be able to understand it, and then of course, in case of exam questions, you should be able to do that analysis and identify. Now see, now we have to multiply annual usage, annual value volume by unit cost, and then arrange it from the highest value to the lowest. Highest value to the lowest. Column number 6 and column number 5. So highest value to the lowest. How to get this value? Multiply annual value, annual volume by. Okay. So then we can have the total value of the inventory here. Total value of the inventory. Isn't so? Can you see? And based on that, we can calculate the percentage of value, percentage of annual value, right? Like what they have done here. Right? So, as a percentage of this, as a percentage of this total, what is the percentage of this? And that is 38.8. As a percentage of total value, what is the percentage of this item? So it's 77,000. So 33.2. So likewise, so you can get the percentage of value added. Then based on that criteria, we can decide which items coming under which category. So class A, most valuable items. So, according to this classification, around 10 to 15% of units in terms of value, that is close to 80%. So, in our calculations, 38.8, 33.2, right? We keep adding it, so probably with these two, 72%. That we can consider as class A. If we keep adding this one also, that goes beyond, right? So that we consider only these two items under class A. Right. Next in line, we go to the next in line, that is this item as a value 11.3. Keep adding them together, because class B, the remaining in terms of units, that is around 30 to 35%. In terms of value, that is around 10 to 15%. So calculate it, and you consider, I mean, it could be the first two or even the third one also, given its high value. So these three together counted or resulted in 23%. Right? 23% that we consider as B, and all the remaining items into C category. I hope you can understand it. Check one more time whether you have any doubts in understanding the calculations and satisfying them into classes. Based on what we classify? Annual usage value, right? Value calculated using this. For each inventory item, volume into unit cost, and we arrange it from highest to the lowest, and get the percentage, and then keep adding them and identifying which items should come under which category. Okay. Sometimes there will be a question. I'm not sure you, but yes, this will be able to. These guidelines, I mean, these are cutoff points in the guidelines. Roughly, these are the guidelines. Clear? Right. Then let's move to the main part of our discussion. We have around 20 to 25 minutes. Talk about inventory models, inventory management systems that are of different types. So inventory management techniques and inventory management systems are there. Okay. So let's try to quickly identify at least basic techniques. This is the last point we have to discuss in this topic. Basically, in textbooks, they explain different inventory models, and this is the most simple model, most basic model. We call it Q models. What is it? Q models. Fixed order quantity model. Q models. That you already know. I will just show you again. In addition to that, for some other items, some other inventories, it is recommended to use period model, or what they call interval model. We call simply P models. The first one has Q model. And the second one has P model. Period model or interval approach. And the third one we call it single period model for special product items. Third one is appropriate. However, since we are short of time, I will only focus on the first one, not the other two. And this one too, you have studied maybe your A-levels, maybe some other costing, management accounting subjects. You have studied these EOQ models, and I will just discuss it. Not the second one and the third one. Right. Are you ready? We are going to talk about quantity models, or simply known as Q models. Coming to Q models or quantity models, it's all about deciding economic order quantities and EOQs. EOQs, economic order quantities. Right. And there are different advanced techniques, but it begins with these basic EOQ models. And the basic EOQ model is based on a lot of assumptions like this. And you study them, some other something. Basic EOQ models based on these assumptions. There we believe the demand for that item is known. The annual demand is known and that is constant and that is independent. And the lead time is known and that is constant for that item. Throughout the year, lead time is constant. Lead time. When you place an order, the time gap between receipts. That is constant and known. Receipt of inventory is instantaneous and complete. When we order, let's say 500 items, we order the full 500 quantity together. Instantaneous and complete. And they believe or they assume quantity discounts are not possible. Quantity discounts? Now, based on the volume we purchase, sometimes they offer us some additional discounts. When we order higher quantities, they offer higher, better rates. But here they believe no quantity discounts. Only two costs are considered here. One is inventory holding cost, and the other one is ordering cost or setting up cost. Only these two. And accordingly, they also assume stock outs are not possible, that they can be completely avoided. Are they practical at all? No. Very unrealistic assumptions, but these basic EOQ models are still popular because they are simple and that gives us some idea about what order quantities should be maintained. I'm not going to explain everything to you and all the formula and all because you know of them. So this is how the basic EOQ model can be explained in graphs. So we order the quantity. What is quantity? That is EOQ. The economics order quantity that minimizes the inventory cost. Right. So the cost Q, when we order, we receive, then we daily consume it at a given rate that is constant. And reaching to one point, that is reorder point, that depends on the lead time, we reorder. So then when we use all the remaining quantities, we get the full order again. So likewise, this is how the inventory movements. So that the average inventory can be simply calculated by Q divided by 2. So such information is needed. So this is the explanation given. In basic EOQ model, only two types of costs considered. One is the holding cost, and the other one is ordering cost or setting up cost. Quickly follow this and understand it within the classroom itself. Now, when the order quantity gradually increases, more and more quantity, and as a result, inventory would be higher, so that holding cost is gradually or proportionately increasing. More the size of order quantity, proportionately increases the holding cost. On the other side, setting up cost or ordering cost is gradually declining with order quantity. Higher the order, lower the ordering cost per annum. So as a result, it explains the total inventory cost curve behaves like this. At a particular point, according to these assumptions and all, at a particular point, total inventory cost reaches to a lowest point. And at that point, holding cost equals ordering cost. Those are basic things that we do. So accordingly, this is how we can see it in an equation. When we use these as this is the equation like Q, that is the number of units in an order. Capital Q, that is the EOQ. D, capital D, that is annual demand. ordering cost, O setting up cost, H holding cost. So annual setting up cost or ordering cost is calculated using this equation. Annual holding cost is calculated using this equation. So at that lowest total inventory cost, both equal to each other. So accordingly, the calculation is done and the equation is derived here. At EOQ, this is how we can calculate it. I think you are familiar with this equation. Do you? Have you studied it before? So sometimes you will be given such details and using the equation, and you have to substitute values and calculate and bring up. Let me quickly move to one simple example here. Now it says assume an item, inventory item, for which the annual demand is 1000 units, capital D, 1000, and per order cost is $10. Ordering cost $10, and the holding cost is given as $0.5 per unit per year. If that is the case, simply substituting values for the EOQ equation, you can simply calculate what is EOQ. Accordingly, we get EOQ as 200 units. This is the most basic inventory management approach. We call it quantity models. There we talk about EOQ. So this is how we calculate the EOQ. Sometimes you will also be asked to calculate other details. Like here, expected number of orders, capital N. How many orders would be required? How many orders would be required to fulfill annual demand? Annual demand. And for that, we divide D by Q, annual demand by EOQ. So 5. What does that mean? This 5, that simply means 5 times. We will have to order 5 times per year during the year to fulfill the annual demand, that is 5,000. Sorry, that is 1,000. Each time you order 200, likewise you will have to order 5 times. If you have to calculate expected time between orders, that means the time gap between orders, and for that you need to have information on how many days to consider. So usually in exam questions, such will be given whether that is 365 days or some days that they operate, that should be given. So now we have to assume number of working days per year, that is 250. Assuming that, or giving, it should be given here, and T should be 50 days. T is 50. That means every 50 day gap we will have to face. In other words, when you order an item, right? When you order that item, we will consume it for 50 days until we receive the next order. Until we receive the next order. Okay? For that EOQ, if you have to calculate the total annual cost, we have to add setup cost and the holding cost together. Using the equations, you can do so, I guess. Setup cost equation and then holding cost and add them together. At the point of EOQ, both are each equals to the total of each. 50 plus 50, here it comes as 100 total. So likewise, you can simply do the calculations for you. If something is not clear, we can stop and discuss. Otherwise, we can consider the other example. If you have to consider the annual purchasing cost also, purchasing cost, also known as product cost, that we can add by multiplying annual demand B, the price, unit cost. So that is how. Now, the next important concern here is reorder point. Now, EOQ talks about what should be the size of an order. Whereas reorder point tells when to order, when I should place the next order. Especially when the inventory level reaches to a particular level, you'll have to place the next order and accordingly you will get it. So that depends on what? That depends on the lead time. So that consider the lead time, we have to decide what is the reorder point. You know, lead time is the time between order placement and order received. So that we have to first of all calculate what is the per day demand. Per day demand. So that is simple D. Simple D equals capital D divided by number of working days operating. So that what is the per day demand and multiply by L, that is lead time. So that helps us getting our reorder. So when inventory reaches to that point, right, that is equal to lead time consumption, you place the new order. So during the period here, you will be consuming whatever remaining quantity. When it reaches to 0, you get the next order fully based on these assumptions. Lead time is constant, you know it, and other assumptions are there. So that is how it is. Assume that this is given. Annual demand is 8,000 phones. Working number of working days 250. Assuming lead time is 3 working days. Calculate reorder point. First we have to calculate simple D. Simple D equals 8,000 divided by 250, 32. So 32 into lead time, 3 days. So it is 96. I hope you understand it. When it reaches to 96, you have to place the name order. Considering these and equations, and within 2-3 minutes, can you work on this calculation, or will you do it at home? From the information given here, you have to identify the values. It's about tire company, a local distributor for a national tire company expects. It's about a local distributor. They selling radial tires. So the capital D, annual demand tire approximately 9,600. You have to identify it. And then annual carrying cost, H, equals $16 per tire per year. And ordering cost, that is S, per order $75. Factory operator operates. So distribute operates. Distribute operates for 288 days. And then L equals 5 days. So use the equations, calculate EOQ. I hope you can do it without much issue. Even for the exams, you can bring your calculators. Not only for this, for the other calculations if any. EOQ. Two D into H divided by S and square root of it. Of H here. These are simple EOQ calculations. Yeah, basics. You should know these basics. What is EOQ? 300. Considering that, how many times per year does the does the distributor reorder? 9,600 divided by 300. So that for the question number A, EOQ, and B, that is how many times, how many orders, number of orders, that is annual demand, that is 9,600 divided by 300. 32 times. Then, what is the reorder point? For that we should know simple D. Reorder point equals simple D into L. Simple D equals annual demand divided by number of operating days, that is 288. Get an answer here. This time 5 working days. Simple D into L. Length of an order cycle. Length of an order cycle, that means when you order one time, how long you can consume that? That is the question of Then the length equals number of operating days, that is 288 days, divided by number of orders, 32. Get an answer in days. And then of course total annual cost. Purchasing cost also included. You have to add the material purchasing cost also. Total annual cost. You will consider. You will consider the product cost also here. Very simple and easy, but still useful. Now these are basic EOQ calculations. Now you know that is based on a lot of unrealistic assumptions. So based on these basic models, there are some advanced calculations, advanced equations. Each time you remove some assumptions and you have some more realistic calculations. So one such calculation is we call it production order quantity models. Production order quantity models. This will be the last point because we run out of time. Where we violate, we remove one assumption and calculate the EOQ. And we don't call it EOQ, we basically consider EBQ or economic production quantity. We call it EBQ, economic batch quantity. Economic batch quantity. Economic batch quantity, especially in manufacturing context or in especially in manufacturing context or in retail context, sometimes ordering is also considered in that manner. Now, you know what happens here? Now we had an assumption. We had an assumption that when you order the EOQ, right, you receive the entire lot instantaneously and complete. You order 5,000 items as EOQ, you get all 5,000 items together as one. But practically, when it comes to manufacturing firms and all, right? Listen to this carefully and understand it. Right? In manufacturing industries and all, now you know, when they decide their batch size, quantity size, let's say they decide 5,000 should be the order quantity, 5,000 should be the total order size to minimize inventory cost. But they cannot produce entire 5,000 units per day. Let's say for an example, their production capacity is such per day. The production capacity It's only 1,000 units. It's only 1,000 units. So they cannot produce the entire 5,000 within a day. How many days they will have to produce? Each day 1,000. So that 5 days they will have to continue the production. Can you understand? So each day they produce 1,000. Next day 1,000 likewise. Assume that they are consuming 300 units per day. 300 units per day. What is accumulated in the inventory now? Per day they are producing 1,000. That is production. And per day they are consuming 300 units. So each day there is only remaining 70 units. Right? Likewise, this inventory will be accumulated until you continue your production. Until you continue your production run. When you stop it, you have some amount of inventory as the total inventory here, maximum inventory here, that we will consume during the period we don't produce. Can you understand? So we don't get the total quantity at once. It comes over a period of time until the production run is continuous. Until the production run is continuous. And there you stop it, right? Which reaches to 5,000, you stop it and move to another production. So like they are calculating what is the most economical batch quantity that minimizes inventory cost cannot be calculated using the early equation. And for that, inventory holding cost calculation, inventory carrying cost calculation is little different. And I'm not going to explain everything, but what you have to understand here is now calculating the holding cost can be done using this equation. Maximum inventory level can be calculated using this equation. When we get the keys like this, Q, economic batch quantity, simple T, daily production rate, simple D, daily demand rate, capital H, holding cost, and the number of days that the production run continues. So accordingly, EBQ equation would look like this. Would look like this. 1 minus D divided by T. D divided by T. So, say one example here. If you are provided annual demand is 1,000 units, setting up cost is $10 per setup, holding cost is $0.5 per unit per year, and the production capacity 8 units per day, consumption day, demand per day 4 units per day. By substituting, we can calculate EBQ. Just have a look on this equation and substitute. All the other things are same except this part. So D, that is simple D, 4, and P, that is 8. So you get the answer as 283 units. And accordingly, the other details like when annual data used, the equation becomes this, right? And that we have already identified, right? So you calculate. So for an example, at home you will do this calculation. This is a toy manufacturer. And for the toy they are using rubber wheels, and this is the annual requirement. 48,000 rubber wheels are required for the main, one of the main toys there, that is dump truck series. They have a factory that can produce these wheels. Per day production rate is 800 units per day. And the toy trucks are assembled at a given capacity. That is simple, is constant. Carrying cost is $1 per wheel. Setup cost for a production run is $45. The firm operates 240 days per year. Calculate EBQ, and then minimum total annual cost for carrying and setting up separately. What is that calculation? EBQ. EBQ. When we cannot get the total order once, but part by part. So likewise, there are different advanced EOQ calculations. Each time we remove one assumption and try to calculate in more realistic manner. Discount models are there. Now, earlier we believe no discounts applicable, quantity discounts. But in advanced calculation, there are quantity models. When you order more, you get lower rates. So, how to calculate the right price? So, but for the time being, just be familiar with EOQ calculations and EQ calculations. That is the most common quantity models. Period funds are different. They are the period is constant. And we have designed for different orders, different material, different items. Sometimes using the quantity model may not be appropriate. That means decide in the EOQ, but decide in the period that you have to measure the available quantity and decide the order. That model is a little different. So we have to identify what is the regular time period you have to monitor the inventory and decide the quantity. So P is constant here, Q may vary. Each time, depending on the inventory consumed, they will order the next time. So like, single period model. So then there is something called single period model. These are for items that we frequently purchase again and again and again. When it comes to single period models, there are certain items we only purchase once. After some days, that product may not be valid at the same price. Now, say for example, daily takeaway shops. Fast food items are not. They cannot reuse the food items after 2 p.m. also. No stock value. The value of the stock will become zero residual value. So that we have to decide what should be the inventory level we have to order. Considering that we cannot sell that product after 2 p.m. So there we have to use something called probability, and what is the average demand and various other concerns, and what they call service levels, and they call it decide. That is good. But for the time being, just Be familiar with the first one, that is quantity models. This one. Inventory management topic. We discussed what we mean by inventory, what we mean by inventory management, why inventory management is needed, inventory costs, and mainly the inventory management activities, out of which we discuss in detail only two inventory classifications, and then of course inventory management approaches. They are also we simply discuss EOP models on in advanced subjects we will study in future. So I will quickly give you an overview about the question paper. In operations management subject, from the beginning, we have been talking about different operations management topics. Accordingly, we have covered at least 10 different topics, 10 11 topics. All 10 topics will be tested in the final paper. 10 or 11 topics will be tested in the final paper. More likely, you will get same type of papers that you can see as past papers. To go through some past papers, you will understand the structure of the paper. What type of questions will come and all. So more likely the same structure will be followed. In your question paper, there will be more likely 7 questions, out of which you have to select 5. Out of 7 questions, only 5 questions. First question will be compulsory, and that will be mostly on overall understanding on operations management. So you need to have an overall understanding about operations management to answer that compulsory question. What operations management is all about compared to other functional areas like finance, marketing, HR. What is unique in operations management? What is the role of operations management? We discuss it. Basically, we study the production side of business. How to manufacture products more efficient and effective manner, so that sales and marketing can sell them in the market. So for that, what are the key decisions operations managers are supposed to make? We have discussed. From product design, specifying product features and all, and then of course selecting appropriate technologies and processes for that, and aligning with that, deciding whether to manufacture some components in-house, whether to buy from suppliers, supply chain side of it, and what capacity should be maintained. Those are key decisions. Where to locate the facilities, how to manage the quality of products, services. So that we have discussed. So you should have an overall idea about the roles of operations managers. In addition to the traditional roles, what are the challenging new roles, challenging responsibilities, so that in terms of technology, in terms of new rules and regulations, cost competition, right? So how modern businesses face those new challenges, and accordingly operations managers, how they overcome. So since that question is compulsory, be ready going through those, especially the first topic and then overall other topics. Out of the remaining 6 questions, you can select only 4. So total of 5 questions. I hope that is clear. There will be 7 questions mostly. You have to select only 5 questions question 1 is compulsory. And you will notice in the past papers also, there will be at least 2 parts in the question. 2 parts in the question. Maybe each part may come from different topics. So that to answer at least four questions, we should have studied 7, 8 topics to answer it. You can decide which topics you are going to study. About the content of the paper, as we have already discussed, we have discussed frameworks, concepts, theory part, that you will be asked to describe, let's say, product designing, okay, product development process, product development activities. So describing it is the. Sometimes you will be asked to explain something. Explain why quality management is important. So you're supposed to explain. So think of the time allocated for that and the marks allocated for that and decide, okay, for 10 marks, the answer should be adequate for that answer, marks. In addition to those theory part, as we have completed some calculations also on a different topic, there will be some calculations. You can bring your calculator, practice some calculations we have done in the classroom, and have a look on past papers and try to do some of those calculations also. Then you will be ready to answer any question coming to the table. The table will not be very difficult, but you should have completed, you should have studied some topics we discussed in the class. My advice is, don't try to write whatever the things you know about that particular topic. Right? If the question has come from quality management, don't try to write out everything you know about quality. You study about quality. Read the question carefully and identify from which part of the topic this question has come and what is the answer. If it is about total quality management, it's about total quality management. Why this? Only that answer is needed. Don't try to write everything you know about it. Because you have very limited time that you have to use to answer all 5 questions, both parts. So carefully select questions that you can answer both parts and try to answer all 5 questions. One might feel like answering 3 questions successfully. This is enough for me. Right? Now I have obtained around 30 to 40 marks. That is enough. Pass mark is enough. Don't try to do so. Answer all parts, all 5 questions. That is important. Right? Sometimes you think your answer is correct, sometimes it's not. So let's try to answer all 5 questions. Don't put me in trouble. If nothing has been written in the answer script, how can I assign marks? That doesn't mean you have to write unnecessary things on the paper as answers. No. Try to show that you know something of this. This is how you have understood it. Then that's easy for me to assign marks or give marks. Grade your answer. I hope without much trouble, you all will go through, get through this subject. That is not the purpose. Purpose should be to get a good grade for this time. That we can easily do. Spend the remaining time, 1 week. Operation management, I gave 2 weeks. You'll be able to get a good grade for this subject. But then you obtain a good C marks also. Are there any other questions? That's why we discuss on the same topic, so that you can decide, you can target. Right? But I can tell you is there will be at least one of a question for each topic we discuss. You can decide, depending on the convenience, what you understood, this familiar review, and you can decide that is 7 8 topics, but there will be at least a part of question for each topic. Then as I told you, the first question is so far overall understanding is needed. So for that, you need to since it is compulsory, then we calculate. You will come to know after the test you will come to know. Most of the groups have the final paper you describe. We will get good marks for this subject. If you demonstrate what you know, any other questions? You have another subject, right? 20. Right, then hopefully you after the exams and I must be thankful to everyone, especially those who came regularly and take part actively in the discussion. Because of you, we could complete at least 10 different topics, 10 different topics. And I hope you get a simple idea about our subject and information management. You will not study it again and again, but this time you got a simple idea about it. And thank you very much for your participation and support.